Hi, I'm Lone Candle. Several articles on tariffs have claimed that tariffs contribute to inflation in a simple manner. They argue that although tariffs are not the main cause of inflation, they contribute. So reducing or eliminating tariffs would help limit inflation. While it's true that tariffs likely increase the cost of goods taxed with tariffs, their overall impact on inflation is much more complicated. Don't get me wrong. Tariffs have negative consequences. Tariffs are costly and need to be justified with potential good sides to counteract the negatives. I am not making a pro-tariff argument here. What I am doing is correcting the common claim that tariffs simply contribute to inflation, when in reality, tariffs have a variety of effects, some of which contribute to inflation, while others are deflationary. Tariffs are taxes on foreign imports. When an import is taxed, this directly increases the cost to the importing business. The business can either eat the entire cost of the tax or share some or all of that cost with consumers in the form of increased price. Because inflation is a general increase in prices, and the increase in the price of foreign goods due to a tariff tax contributes to the overall price of goods and services, tariffs quite directly increase inflation in this way. Tariffs will also increase prices by way of inputs. Some goods are imported, then used to produce other final goods for the consumer. For example, tariffs on steel may increase prices for everything that takes steel to produce. This includes a variety of goods people consume. Like with products that go more directly to the consumer, the increase in price is only the share of the tax that the businesses don't eat themselves. The prices of domestic goods will likely also increase because they have weaker foreign competition, and the increased price of foreign goods may increase the demand for domestic products. Usually, tariffs are put on at least partially for the purpose of protecting weaker domestic industries, so the domestic goods are either worse quality or more expensive compared to foreign competition. If the tariff leads to more purchases of the pricier domestic goods, that means more inflation. It's important to note that, by these mechanisms, an increase of tariffs should create a one-time increase in inflation, not a permanent increase to the inflation rate. We usually speak of inflation in terms of the yearly inflation rate, how much prices changed over the last year. Adding tariffs will increase this rate through the above mechanisms one time, but will not create high inflation year after year. Prices will go up due to the tariff, then that's it. The changes in prices will go up and down unrelated to the already existing tariff. The above is the story some articles tell about how tariffs increase prices, but they ignore how tariffs can decrease prices. One of the basics of inflation is the more money available, meaning the more dollars in the system, the higher the prices. A dollar will be worth less if there are more of them relative to the amount of goods and services available to buy. One basic way to make less dollars available is to tax. A tax takes money out of the system by returning the currency to its creator, the government. A tariff is a tax. So, tariffs work to reduce inflation by taking money out of the system. As long as by implementing a tariff, the government isn't reducing other taxes or increasing spending, as long as the tariff is a net reduction of the money supply, tariffs reduce the amount of money available to spend, which will lower overall prices. The goods and services more directly affected by the tariffs will still probably be more expensive, but because it costs more to buy these products, there will be less money to buy other stuff. Another way to think of it is that because people spent more money on these products, there was less demand for other products due to people having less money left over, and the additional price doesn't go to a business for it to spend, but is removed from the system. This works to decrease prices. Some people may choose not to purchase the category of products taxed due to increased prices. This means they don't pay the higher prices nor the tax. So people who act like this don't contribute to inflation in these ways. Tariffs often result in retaliatory tariffs by foreign governments. This means domestic goods will cost more in foreign countries, and companies that have been honing their skills in producing certain goods and services will make less money from those skills, and may invest less or even go out of business. This can lead to less production of those goods, lower advantages of scale, and less innovation, meaning higher prices in the long run. Innovation is our greatest tool for limiting inflation in the long run. We either learn to make the same thing way more efficiently, lowering its price, and we learn to make much better versions of a thing, so that even if new versions are the same price or more expensive, you're getting much more for your purchase. A top-of-the-line TV today looks and sounds a whole lot better than a top-of-the-line TV in 1990. Actually, a cheap low-budget TV today looks much better than a top-of-the-line 1990 TV. Previously, you needed to be connected to a wire to talk to someone on the telephone. Then you could be wireless, but only in your house. Then we had mobile phones, but they were huge. You used to have to carry a mobile phone and a camera to take good pictures. Now, phones are small, they take great pictures, they surf the internet, they play decent games, they play videos, and more, all on one mobile device. You get more when you buy these items today than you did years ago. Innovation doesn't just include new or improved products, but better ways of creating products and services. Whether that means new machinery, better training, better organization, better employee motivation, or any possible way to do a thing better. Innovation doesn't just make goods and services better, but makes them cheaper because the more efficiently something is produced, the less it costs to make. Tariffs' greatest impact on inflation may be through how tariffs affect long-term innovation. Generally, if tariffs help domestic industries develop and become competitive to a point where they no longer need the tariffs to compete, then tariffs help innovation by creating new businesses that can compete on the world stage and innovate to do things in better ways. However, most of the time, tariffs just help protect inefficient industries that will continue to be less efficient or more expensive than foreign competition. This hurts the economy by not forcing industries to compete, reducing their incentives to innovate, and hurts the economy by higher prices leaving less left over for investment in the purchase of other goods, which means less profits for other industries. Less profits for other industries often means less business and less jobs, leading to even less demand and even less jobs. Lower investment and profits means less money for innovative ideas, so less innovation. Because tariffs are usually used to protect industries that are unwilling or unable to hang with foreign competition, tariffs are usually bad for the economy and bad for innovation, meaning tariffs usually increase long-term inflation by way of less innovation. Tariffs can also hurt the economy by increasing policy uncertainty, which long-term means less investment and innovation. Another way tariffs may reduce innovation and production is by making work and investment less profitable. If the tariffs make it so one has less money due to wanted or needed items being pricier, or make it so one buys less ideal items due to the ideal items being more expensive, people may see less reason to work as hard and work less. Increased costs also limit profits, so lower the incentive for people to expand or create businesses. General damage to the economy from this and other mechanisms also make investment less profitable, which leads to less investment. It's possible that the US dollar appreciates due to tariffs. If so, this would protect consumers from price increases, but would make US exports more expensive relative to goods from other countries, resulting in lower revenues, less jobs, and less incentives for investment. The 2002 U.S. steel import tariffs increased costs for many businesses that used steel. This resulted in the loss of 200,000 American jobs. Some companies even moved their production offshore because tariffs made steel in the U.S. too expensive. Tariffs hurting the economy should also put pressure towards deflation, because people and companies having less money should reduce demand. Some economic papers argue that tariffs mainly cause inflation in developing countries, but not developed ones. This implies that something in developing countries may counter the potential inflationary impacts of tariffs. This could be because developed countries have more disciplined central banks, or because developed countries have more internal competitiveness, so less of the tax is passed on to the consumer. Some of this literature focuses on how openness affects central bank decisions. The literature's related empirical results are somewhat mixed. The more direct effects of inflation may be countered by central banks. Countries with strong central banks, like the United States Federal Reserve, can use monetary policy to limit inflation or deflation caused by tariffs. However, the Fed cannot fight long-term inflation caused by the lack of innovation and efficiency. Also, the Fed's efforts to fight inflation have a cost. So, do tariffs net increase or decrease inflation? I say that tariffs generally increase inflation. In the short term, they increase inflation by taxing foreign imports and directly making these goods more expensive by way of this tax. This affects both goods directly sold to consumers and goods and services that use taxed imports as inputs. However, taxing takes this money out of the economy, so the less currency and demand overall could decrease inflation by an equal or greater amount. I have uncertainty on how this balance works out, and any such effects on inflation are likely small compared to inflation's more major drivers. However, when we add in long-term innovation effects and how tariffs are bad for the economy overall, tariffs increase inflation by way of less investment and innovation. Some tariffs may decrease prices in the long term by helping create innovative and efficient domestic industries that can compete with foreign competition. However, most tariffs just protect rather than successfully develop, so most tariffs are inflationary. Protected industries have less incentive to innovate and may survive despite being permanently more expensive than foreign competition. Weakened economies may temporarily put downward pressure on prices due to lack of demand, but damaging long-run efficiency and innovation is tariffs' greatest inflation threat. I wrote this piece because I read multiple articles oversimplifying the relationship between tariffs and inflation. However, tariffs' impact on the overall economy and people's lives matters much more. Inflation isn't the best way to think about the negative effects of tariffs. Tariffs damage the economy, resulting in the loss of jobs, profit, and innovation. So they are a costly policy. Those costs may be justified if tariffs provide benefits outweighing the costs. But those costs must be outweighed and need to be included in the overall conversation about tariff policy. Well, I'm Lone Candle. Like me, comment me, and love me. Love me with all of your heart, all of your soul, and all of your genitalia. Mwah.